A man in his early 70s goes to his doctor for his annual checkup. At the conclusion of the checkup, the doctor says, "Mr. Cohen, the harsh reality is I cannot make you any younger." Quick as a flash, Mr. Cohen responds, "Doctor, I don't want you to make me any younger. I want you to make me older." Join me as we eavesdrop on a fascinating conversation that takes place between two great rabbis. Conversation some 3,000 years old and recorded in the Talmud. Rabbi Yitzchak and Rav Nachman are sitting together, and Rav Nachman says to Rabbi Yitzchak, "Tell me something interesting." And Rabbi Yitzchak responds, "I'll tell you something rather fascinating. What I'd like to share with you is that Yaakov Avinu, our forefather Jacob, he never passed away." When Rav Nachman heard that, he was somewhat taken aback. And he says, "I don't understand what you're saying. In this week's portion, Parshat Vayechi, we read, true, it doesn't say the word mavet, death, in relationship to Yaakov's passing, but it does say that Yaakov was embalmed, he was eulogized, his coffin was taken up to Israel, he was buried there. What then does it mean, Rabbi Yitzchak, when you tell me that Yaakov Avinu did not pass away?" You know, you ever go visit somebody in their home and on their mantelpiece they'll have pictures of grandparents and great-grandparents. You'll have a man very often with a long flowing white beard and a large kippah, and next to him will be a woman dressed very modestly, and they'll point out and they'll say, "That's my grandfather, my grandmother, or my great-grandparents." And just by the way, I always find it somewhat amusing. Have you ever seen any of these people smile? It seems it was illegal at that time when they took a family portrait to actually smile. But be that as it may, we've got the picture of the mantelpiece of this rabbinic-looking figure with his wife, and the children, the descendants, are so proud of them. And I sometimes say to myself, I wonder if those people in the picture, if they would be alive, would they be equally as proud of their descendants? In fact, would they be able to recognize from their behavior and mode of conduct that they were actually their descendants? For those who don't know me, my name is Yaakov. Well, in actual fact, it's Yaakov Sholem. The name Yaakov was given after a great-grandfather, who in turn was named after a relative all the way back, of course, to Yaakov Avinu, our forefather Jacob. Now imagine if Yaakov Avinu would walk through the door. I'd go over to him and I would say, "Shalom Aleichem, I want you to know that I'm named after you." Well, obviously I wouldn't speak to him in English because he may not get the Aussie accent. I would speak to him, of course, in Lashon HaKodesh, in the Hebrew tongue, and I would say to him, "Shmi Yaakov, my name is Yaakov. And I want you to know that my son celebrated his bar mitzvah, and in his bar mitzvah he read from the Torah the blessings that you had given your sons thousands of years before." I would also tell him that my late wife's name was Rivka, named ultimately after your mother, Rivka, and she taught in a school, Beis Rivka. And every year she would teach girls in grade 4 Chumash, and part of what they learned was known as Birkat Yaakov, the blessings that Yaakov had given to his sons. These blessings were given over 3,500 years ago. And they are still remembered by the girls to this very day. Quite astonishing if you take into account that what we say, yesterday's headlines, today's fish and chip wrappers. And in actual fact, that is what Rabbi Yitzchak was saying to Rav Nachman. It is true that Yaakov Avinu is physically no longer alive. He is no longer present. We do not see him. However, the very fact that we walk or we attempt to walk in his footsteps, the very fact that we pray that we're able to emulate him, the very fact that we hope and we pray that he looks down upon us with the same joy as we aspire to be like him, that in itself is very much what it means that Yaakov Avinu lo met, that Yaakov, our forefather, never passed away. No one lives forever. We have an obsession with trying to hide our true age. It's a billion-dollar industry. But let me share with you a secret, that can somehow allow us to touch the eternal. Imagine your children or grandchildren will say, I wonder what Mum and Dad or Bobby and Zadie would have done in this situation. And please God, their children and their grandchildren will ask exactly the same question. In that case, we, who have set in motion this discussion of children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren till the end of time, will have somehow been able to touch that which is truly eternal. Thank you.